Is the real estate market completely dead in Asheville? Are homes ever going to sell, and are prices actually starting to come down? I'm going to answer these questions and more in today's video. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cara.fiano and I'm a local real estate broker in the Asheville region. Welcome back, and let's dive into my May housing market update. Also, I'm sure you can hear that sound in the background. If you're local, you probably already know what that is, but if you're not, the 17-year cicadas have now decided to come out. So now we have to listen to that for the next month or so. So apologies for that, really nothing I could do about it. Starting out with home prices, Fannie Mae is actually predicting hotter price appreciation than previously predicted. Their latest prediction states that prices will likely increase by 4.1% by the end of this year. Zillow, on the other hand, is predicting a 1.9% decline. These are national figures, and of course this is going to vary by region. Interestingly, in Q1, 83% of metro areas saw price increases. Nationally, during Q1, the median sale price for existing single-family homes increased by 3.4% to just over $400,000. This is lower than the 4.8% increase that we saw in Q4. These numbers did vary quite drastically by region. The South only saw a 1.3% increase, followed by the West at 4.1%, the Midwest at 5.2%, and interestingly, the Northeast by 10.3%. I know over the past few months there's been a lot of talk of tariffs and how these are going to impact the price of a lot of different things, home prices included. Currently, 60% of builders have reported that their suppliers have already increased prices or have stated that they're going to be increasing prices. On average, this increase is about 6.3% and is in response to announced, enacted, or expected tariffs. This equates to roughly a $10,900 increase per home. This next statistic is from a recent Realtor.com survey. I don't often like to include survey results in my videos because I feel like the sample size typically isn't big enough, but I found these results so interesting and worth sharing because I've noticed them on a local level as well. 81% of survey respondents stated that they expect to get asking price or higher for their properties. Additionally, 70% of home sellers stated they believe now is a good time to sell. Realtor.com is currently predicting that it could take 7.5 years or longer to close the housing supply gap. This could mean that prices may increase over the coming months and years. Backtracking just a little bit to that statistic where the majority of homeowners believe they're going to get asking price or more. Interestingly, during the first quarter of this year, 44.4% of home sellers included concessions with the sale of their property. I find this really interesting because on the one hand, you have homeowners thinking they're at least getting asking price, maybe even higher, but then you also have almost 50% of home sellers actually offering seller concessions to buyers in order to close the deal. So this is a little bit of a dichotomy that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But I have noticed this in the Asheville region as well. There are plenty of homeowners out there right now who are really not in tune with the current market. They're overpricing their properties, they're sitting on the market for longer, they're ultimately getting less money for their homes than they could have if they listed them appropriately from the beginning, and they're having to offer more seller concessions. So we have this situation where I don't necessarily know if it's sellers being greedy or maybe just being uneducated on the market, but they're just basically overpricing their properties and getting hurt by it in the long run. I've personally experienced this in my own business. I'm not going to call out names or properties or anything like that, of course, in this video, but I have had a few different listing appointments this year where I actually did not get the listing because another realtor came in and told that homeowner, hey, I can sell your property for X amount of money. And that seller said, that sounds great, let's list it. So they listed it with that realtor, and basically now their home has been sitting on the market for months and hasn't been selling, whereas I stated I could sell their property for X amount and it probably would have sold a lot quicker. All that being said, pricing your home appropriately is extremely important in this market. We are no longer in the very strong seller's market that we saw during the pandemic years. It is now a much more neutral market, but I'll dive into some specific statistics on that coming up. So we talked already about prices on a national level and how those prices are generally increasing in a lot of areas. What about the Asheville area? The average sale price for the Asheville region, as a reminder, that's the 13 counties surrounding Asheville, has actually decreased by 2% compared to a year ago and is currently $515,000. Even though this is down 2% for the last 12 months, it has actually been slowly increasing when you look at the month-over-month data. The median sale price, on the other hand, has actually increased by 2% year over year and is roughly $425,000. Again, this has been increasing slightly month over month as well. We've talked a lot about price, but what about inventory? In March, the typical US home took 47 days to sell. This is the longest amount of time we have seen in the past 6 years. According to Redfin, this is likely due to issues with affordability, economic uncertainty, and tariff concerns. Home sales had their worst March since 2009, falling by 5.9% since February. Simultaneously, inventory increased by 20% in March compared to a year ago. Housing supply hit a 5-year high in Q1, meaning the last time we saw this amount of inventory on a national level was December 2019. It is also up by 30.6% year over year. As you can see by all these national statistics, inventory on a national level has been increasing quite drastically. The story is quite similar in the Asheville region as well. New listings are on the rise and are up by 20% compared to a year ago. The amount of new listings is actually higher than at any point since 2021. Overall inventory has skyrocketed by 45.8% compared to a year ago. Now, this is all really interesting and does a great job of showing how quickly the real estate market is changing, but there's another statistic that I think really drives home what the current situation is. Month's supply of inventory is currently sitting at 4.9. That number is for the Asheville region, and I don't currently have these figures for each county. However, I did include them in my March housing market update videos, so if you're interested, I'll leave that linked up here in case you missed it. But we are definitely heading towards a neutral market. And at this point, some counties may even be in a buyer's market. A little bit of a spoiler, if you didn't see last month's video, I do still recommend going and watching it. But in that video, I mentioned that Madison County was at 5.9 months of inventory, which was essentially a neutral market. I am guessing, given the continued increase in inventory, Madison County might actually be in a true neutral market and possibly a buyer's market. There may be some other counties that have snuck into that territory as well. As soon as I have those statistics, I will certainly be sharing them with you. So as I mentioned, month supply of inventory for the Asheville region is 4.9. This is actually a 58% increase compared to a year ago when it was just 3.1. This market is changing so quickly, you guys. I can't even express, I guess with statistics, but it's just unbelievable how much the market is changing here. The number of closed sales is trending downwards as well. It has been a truly unusual spring market here. The real estate market has slowed down significantly, and I think this has a lot to do with economic uncertainty, but also on a local level dealing with the impacts of Hurricane Helene. I think that has probably scared away some people that were previously considering moving here. They maybe saw the news and thought, you know what, I really don't want to live in an area like that, or I don't want to wait for it to be revitalized, and they maybe just said, oh, look elsewhere. I truly would love to know whether you're local or maybe live in a different state and you're contemplating either moving to Asheville, or maybe you live here and you're contemplating leaving the area. I would really love to know kind of what your situation is and what your thoughts are. Leave me a comment down below and let me know. The general impression that I'm getting is that people are a bit scared away because of the hurricane, but I'm not sure really how much of the real estate market slowdown has been because of that and how much of it has been because of just economic reasons. In addition to the number of closed sales trending downward, days on market has been increasing and is now at 61 days. Remember, this figure does include active listings as well as under contract show listings. What that means is a home has an accepted contract, there is a buyer that's currently going through their inspections and maybe appraisal if they're getting a loan and going through their whole due diligence process, and the seller is open to obtaining backup offers. So that's what under contract show means. So days on market has certainly been increasing. As I mentioned earlier, I do think that's because there aren't as many buyers currently looking for properties due to all of the concerns that I've been mentioning, but I also think it's because sellers are still overpricing their properties. In terms of mortgage rates, they are currently at 7.1%. So they have been increasing just a little bit over the past couple months. Previously, we were anticipating the Fed to cut rates at some point in June, but that no longer appears to be likely. At the same time, Fannie Mae is now expecting rates to hit 6.2% by the end of this year and 6% by the end of next year. These predictions are changing all of the time, and truly no one can state with certainty what's going to happen to interest rates by the end of this year or by the end of next year. But I still think that these predictions are worth mentioning because typically they will give you an idea of the trend and the general direction that interest rates will move into. I do have some interesting local news to share with you, mostly good news, but a little bit of negative news as well. Chimney Rock State Park was previously supposed to be opening up this weekend, but they've had to delay their opening to hopefully sometime in June, but likely at some point this summer. The towns of Marshall and Hot Springs have officially reopened as of May 1st. They still have a ways to go with recovery, but it is really good to see some local businesses and restaurants open up and bring life back into these towns. The city of Asheville is also starting the process of restoring different areas along the river. The city seeks to use the federal disaster relief funds to cover the $25 million worth of damage. Design and public engagement will take the better part of 2 years, followed by an additional 2 to 3 years of construction. So it is going to be a little while before areas like Carrier Park and the walkway near the River Arts District along the river are fully revitalized and fully finished. I just read this morning that Laughing Seed in downtown Asheville announced their closure. I wanted to mention this to you guys, not because, they stand out over any other local business, but I wanted to mention this because there are a lot of different local businesses around Asheville. Honestly, I feel like every week I hear of a few different businesses that are announcing closures or delayed openings. And I mention this because regardless of whether you are local or you don't live here at all, if there's any way that you have to support the local businesses that really make Asheville what it is, I highly recommend doing that. Whether it's monetarily supporting them by paying for whatever service it is or product it is that they're offering, or it could be something simple and free like sharing a social media post to get the word out about their local business. If you know anything about Asheville, you know that the entrepreneurial community here is very big, and supporting local businesses really does help this area. Okay, let's finish up with just a couple more statistics. All cash buyers made up 26% of home sales in March. This is actually down from 32% in February. The last statistic I have to share is about green homes, and more specifically 3D printed homes. I actually recently posted a YouTube short about this. If you didn't see it, I'll leave it linked up here. It shows you exactly what this home actually looks like and how it is built. Researchers at the University of Maine have started to combine wood waste from sawmills and corn resin to create a 3D printed home. They made a 600 square foot prototype called BioHome 3D. It takes about a week to complete, is stronger than concrete, and is completely recyclable. It can also be broken down and made into something else. Researchers reused the sawdust and corn resin pellets 5 times and found that the properties held up well. I'll be interested to see over the next few years if we start to see more 3D printed homes pop up. Well, that is everything for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. As you can see, the real estate market is changing pretty rapidly. So if you want to stay up to date on all of these statistics, definitely hit that subscribe button down below and go follow me over on Instagram as well. I've been posting more frequently over there, so if you're on Instagram, definitely give me a follow. All right, everyone, I will see you very soon in the next one.